What's the story, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and everyone in between? How are we all getting on? It is a massive game this coming Saturday between Manchester City and Liverpool. One of the biggest games in the Premier League so far this season, if not the biggest when you think about it. First versus second in the league, Manchester City and Liverpool. We know what that usually means when these two go up against each other in a title race. It's always huge, it's always important, and it always delivers absolute classic moments. Think of some of the moments and some of the big games that this fixture has produced down the years, some of the iconic moments, and what could happen this weekend. Can we get some more history, some more big moments between these two? And look, it's a massive game for both clubs, obviously. I mean, when Man City come up against Liverpool, even last season, in both matches, even though Liverpool weren't in the title race and were having a awful season, it was still a huge game for Liverpool in terms of, Man City have been Liverpool's biggest rivals in the last couple of years, because anytime Liverpool have been going for trophies, they've had to compete with Manchester City, whether it be in the Premier League, the Champions League, or at times even in the FA Cup. Liverpool and Man City have locked horns on so many occasions, and this is a huge game. And look, as a Liverpool fan, I'm nervous, I'm excited, I'm looking forward to it. I think look, obviously the title of this video, can Liverpool win the Premier League? Can they actually go and win the Premier League? I never thought I'd be asking that question at the start of the season. If you go back and watch some of the videos I made sort of a couple of months ago, I was really worried about Liverpool going into this season. I was really worried about the transfers. I was really worried about some of the players that they were getting. There didn't really seem to be a direction that we were going in. Like, we seemed to very much ignore signing a number 6. I really felt like we needed a centre-back, and I just felt like we were a couple of injuries away from a crisis again. There were certain players in the team I looked at and thought, they look like they might be past their best. The likes of Andy Robertson, the likes of Virgil van Dijk. You were worried about certain players maybe not being the same players. Like Diogo Jota has had a lot of injury problems. Thiago he still hasn't been in the team this year. Even Luis Diaz, I don't think looked brilliant when he came back from his injury last season. So there were a lot of question marks over Liverpool, and you just wondered, in the summer we were expecting a huge rebuild, and don't get me wrong, our midfield was completely swapped out for a new midfield, but you just got that sense that there was still a lot more work that needed to be done. And to be fair, I think there is still a lot more work that needs to be done. But to be fair, Van Dijk has been extraordinary. When he got sent off against Newcastle earlier in the season, I was really worried. I was looking at it and thinking, he just does not look the same player. He's late on challenges. He just didn't look the same player anymore. And whether the injuries have caught up with him or whatever it was, but since he's come back from that suspension, he has been immense, and he's getting back to, almost, you would say, his very best. I think Kanate, when he's played, has looked very good. Matip is, who was poor enough last season, has shown huge improvement. Robertson's obviously been injured recently, but I think he's been very good. Trent had a wobbly start to the season, but he's, I suppose, started to get better and better. And of course, Mohamed Salah has been extraordinary. And look, he was the constant. You knew he was going to perform. He's been the most consistent player for Liverpool over the last 5 or 6 years or so. And obviously, we've mentioned Darwin Núñez on this channel before, and he's even dramatically gotten better and dramatically improved as well. But I think this game is huge for Liverpool because, for me, losing this game doesn't necessarily mean that Liverpool are out of the title race or not in a title race, or it doesn't even necessarily mean that they won't win the Premier League. But for me, it's all about the performance here. It's all about the performance. When you look at Liverpool, when we have challenged for the league title, when we have won the league title, interesting enough, the year we won the league title, we actually got hammered at the Etihad, but the league was already won at that point. If you're looking at all the other times we've been in a title race when we've gone to the Etihad, fair enough, we haven't won, but we've been very competitive in a lot of those games. We might have got a draw, a couple of goals. It was always very, very close. And obviously how close both of the two teams were when they played each other was reflected in the league table. And I just think for Liverpool going to the Etihad, losing the game is not the end of the world, because Manchester City are one of the best teams of all time. I know they've kind of had a bit of a dip at times this season, but we know when they click, we know when they get going, especially at the Etihad as well, where they're most dangerous. They have the ability to absolutely destroy a team if they want to. And that is the worry from a Liverpool perspective, is that Liverpool need to show that they're able to compete with Man City for a full 90 minutes. They need to be able to show that they're able to dish out blows to Man City. They need to remind Man City that Liverpool are back, and I think that has been the big conversation. Are Liverpool back? Are they back to their best? The early signs of this season would suggest they certainly look that way. They certainly do look to be at their best. The way they're playing football, the reinforcements in midfield of the likes of Szoboszlai. Darwin Núñez has looked excellent. Jota looks back to his best. Alisson's been absolutely tremendous, and all the other players we've already mentioned. Liverpool do look back to their best. Don't get me wrong, it hasn't been perfect. Clearly still need a defensive midfielder. There's still a lot of issues. I think, at times they're conceding a lot of big chances. But I do think all in all, Liverpool have looked as close as they have back to their best since obviously that quadruple chasing season. And look, Manchester City, they've had a few ups and downs obviously this season as well. Haaland's still scoring multiple goals. He maybe isn't scoring like he was last season, but last season was unprecedented. And actually, even when you look at his numbers, they're still quite incredible, really, when you actually think about it. They're obviously missing De Bruyne. They've had a couple of other injuries as well, but I think Manchester City have always kind of had a wobble at the start of the season. They've always looked a little bit up and down. They've had some, up and down moments at the start of the season. It's usually after Christmas when Man City kicks into gear. They'll go on a run and win 10, 15 games in a row or something like that. That's when Manchester City really, really click into gear. And I don't see anything different so far this season from if we remember last season, they actually started the season even slower. So, I don't think, this talk of Man City not being at their best is sufficient, because we know once they get to January or February, they're going to click into gear and they're going to be even better, once again. But if Liverpool can hold their nerve and even pull off a win at the Etihad, which it's it's one of the toughest grounds obviously every team has to go to, and for as good as Liverpool have been under Jurgen Klopp, it's mad to think we've only won at the Etihad twice under Jurgen Klopp, and one of those was in the only one of those was against Pep Guardiola, and that was in the Champions League in 2018. In the Premier League, we're yet to beat Manchester City at the Etihad when Pep Guardiola has been their manager. So, to go there and beat them would be a massive, massive step. And to be honest with you, I'm still not convinced Liverpool will win the league. I think it's very, very early. We've started well, we've looked good, but I think the idea of saying Liverpool are going to win the league already, considering how poor we were last year, I think is a little bit far-fetched. I think we're certainly moving in the right direction. I think we can certainly win trophies this year, but I think the idea that Liverpool, I've seen a lot of people say Liverpool are going to win the league, we're going to do it. Even when Liverpool have been at their absolute peak, we still haven't won it. I know we won it in 2020, but the year previous we finished with 96 points, 97 points. You think back to the quadruple chasing season, that would have been enough to win the league on most occasions, and it wasn't. So, but if we go there to the Etihad and win, I think it sends out a massive statement that it's possible, and it will be the first time then this season where I'll think, do you know what, we can do it. It doesn't mean we've won it, because at the end of the day, it's a 2-point gap, and we're only a quarter of the way through the season. It doesn't really mean anything just yet. But it will be huge for Liverpool, make no mistake about it. And look, a win for Man City will be huge as well, because they would take a 4-point gap over Liverpool. And when you look at some of the other teams that are playing this weekend, Spurs are playing Villa, Arsenal, tricky game away to Brentford. Brentford always a tough place to go to. Even looking further down the table, Man United going away to Everton. I don't think Man United are in a title race anyway, but going away to Everton, especially with everything that's going on with them, that's going to be a tricky game. So it's a massive opportunity for either side to sort of, make a massive statement in the title race or in the season. How do Liverpool win the game? How do Man City win the game then? Look, in terms of how the game is going to go, I think it's going to be end to end. I think it's going to be another cracking game. It's going to be 2-2, 3-2. I can't see either side keeping a clean sheet, and I would be very shocked if this ended 2-0 or 1-0. I mean, sometimes that can happen in these big games where both sides are very cautious and nervous and don't want to overcommit. I mean, Arsenal, Man City was the perfect example of that. But I think Man City are going to go at Liverpool, and I think equally Liverpool, it's not in our DNA. I mean, we will probably drop back a little bit and try and hit them on the counter attack. But at the same time, we're going to play our stuff. We're going to try and go and beat them, because when Liverpool have been at their best, that's what they've done. They've gone to Manchester City and tried to beat them. And even at Anfield, they've gone after them. So I think that's what's probably going to happen again. Van Dijk picking up Haaland, I mean, that is going to be a matchup for the ages. And to be fair, like, Van Dijk done a tremendous job on Haaland at Anfield last season. Haaland barely had a sniff. I can't really remember the game at the Etihad. I don't even know if Van Dijk was playing. I think he was. I presume he was. But Haaland, had an unbelievable game that day, and Liverpool were completely torn to shreds as they were, for the majority of the season at that particular moment in time. But yeah, I think Van Dijk, in the form that he's in, if you keep Haaland quiet, you take a massive step. But City have so many ways that they could hurt Liverpool. Doku's been brilliant. I think the supply of Foden, cutting that off, is going to be big as well. I think Liverpool do have a chance, though. Going down the other end, though, Liverpool are going to need to be clinical. And, that's been, as good as Liverpool's attack has been, extraordinary this season. One of the best attacks in the league. We do miss a lot of chances, though, and Núñez tends to miss, a big amount of chances. You just hope that the chances fall to Salah, on this occasion, because Núñez tends to miss a few before he'll score one. And we'll get big chances in this game, but we need to take them. We need to be super, super clinical. And with the form that Salah's in, you could see him. I mean, he does often tend to score against City. He scored against them home and away last year, even when we were terrible. So you certainly wouldn't bet against Salah doing something again. And like, when you look at Man City and Guardiola hasn't looked great at times this year. Like, even talking about it now, I'm starting to get a lot more confident than I was before starting the video. So, right, let's make a prediction then. Like, it's very hard to go against Man City, to be honest with you, because we know they can raise their standards. We know they'll find a way. They're like any, vintage title-winning team that, even, like, against Chelsea, I didn't think they played particularly brilliant, and yet they still nearly won that game 4-3. Like, they find ways to win games. Rodri will pop up with a goal. Akanji will get a goal. They often seem to find a way. And, like, I could see a 3-2 Man City. I could see something like that. I could see Liverpool going in front and then Man City turning around, Liverpool equalise, and then Man City win it, in the closing minutes. I hope I'm wrong. I mean, I think a draw is likely as well. 3-3, 2-2. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be hugely entertaining. Make no question about that. But if I have to be honest, I would say 3-2 City. I do think that defensive midfield issue for Liverpool will be, for me, what costs us, because we don't have anyone of any high quality to play there. Like, McAllister isn't a DM. Endo, I don't think, is cut out for Liverpool, if I'm being honest with you. Our only way around that could be to try and play a double pivot and, maybe put Szoboszlai in there. But again, I think we're limiting ourselves in the attack then. So I think Klopp will surely have to have a plan, because I think to play McAllister in that DM role, and considering the problems he's had against lesser opposition, it would be criminal. But I do think that's going to be the area we're going to struggle, and I can see Man City winning. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. I can see Salah scoring. I can see Núñez scoring, funnily enough, as well. But like, it wouldn't even surprise me if we kept Haaland quiet and he didn't score, but Doku scores, or Grealish gets on the score sheet, or Rodri pops up with another late goal. Like, they always seem to find something, and they really do remind me of Alex Ferguson's Man United from 10-15 years ago, where, like, they'll find a way from somewhere, and sometimes it won't be the most obvious player on the pitch to do it. So yeah, look, that's my take, that's my prediction. I'm hoping we can do it, but let me know your predictions in the comments down below. My name's Aaron. Like, subscribe if you haven't already. Speak to you soon.